Welcome back, everybody. We're diving deep today into the evolution of a YouTube creator, Political Ferret.
Mm.
And get this, our main source is like straight from the source.
Oh, wow.
It's a letter that Political Ferret wrote to all his subscribers.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is like a firsthand look into his thinking, his motivations,
Okay.
the decisions behind his content and where he's going next.
That's really interesting because he's been on like a super long hiatus, right?
Yeah, exactly. He
Yeah.
addresses that right away. Like 5 years he was gone.
Yeah.
2 kids, a demanding job.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's relatable.
that's a classic story. A lot of us probably know that struggle of like life getting in the way of creative stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But it wasn't just being busy though, was it?
No, he also mentions feeling like the topics he used to focus on were being covered well by others already in English.
Right, like the non-aggression principle.
Yes, free markets, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so he saw an opportunity to kind of branch out,
Yeah.
which is where his location gets really interesting.
Okay.
He's based in Central Europe
Right.
and points out that people there actually prefer reading over watching videos.
Huh, interesting.
They see the written word as having more authority.
Really?
Yeah. Did you know that?
I mean, I can kind of see it, I guess.
Yeah.
In certain academic circles here too, but it's interesting that it's like a broader cultural thing there.
Yeah, totally. And so this next part is wild.
Okay.
Over the past few years, he's basically switched to mainly writing.
Okay.
And not just like a little bit. We're talking 3,000 to 4,000 pages.
Wow, that's dedication.
It's crazy, right? Like a whole
We're
library.
not even counting his online debates.
Oh, right. He said if you add those in, it could be like 4 times that.
Exactly. So clearly writing became his main outlet for a while.
For sure. But here's the real mind-blowing part.
Okay.
He discovered this AI tool
Uh-huh.
called Notebook LM.
Notebook LM.
And this is not your average AI. This thing is a game changer.
What does it do?
So get this, it can take written content and turn it into a podcast. Yeah, like a conversation between 2 computer voices.
Oh.
I know. So all those thousands of pages of his writing,
Yeah.
they can be turned into like these dynamic back and forth discussions.
That's crazy. So he doesn't have to record anything.
Exactly. Plus, he even mentions that he has kind of a monotone voice.
Oh, so this helps with that.
Totally. It's
Yeah.
like he's created these AI hosts to talk about his ideas for him.
I mean, it kind of blurs the lines, doesn't it, between like traditional writing and audio content?
Absolutely. And there's this hilarious part in the letter where the AI gets all confused.
What happened?
So it obviously doesn't realize it's artificial, right?
Right.
And it starts freaking out because it doesn't know who Political Ferret is.
Like it can't find any information on him?
Yeah, it's like, who is this guy? What are his motivations?
Almost like it's trying to understand its own creator.
It's trippy, right? Like a glitch in the Matrix.
That's wild.
Yeah, anyway, this AI isn't perfect.
Mm.
There's some trade-offs.
Oh, yeah. What are those?
Well, he admits that it doesn't always present the information exactly how he intended.
Like it misses some nuance?
Yeah,
Oh.
sometimes. But then there's this upside he didn't expect.
Okay. What's that?
So sometimes his writing can get a little
Oh,
strong, shall we say.
Oh.
A little sharp.
I see.
But the AI actually smooths that out.
Really?
Yeah, like a built-in diplomacy filter.
So it's moderating his tone.
Exactly.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Right. So now we've got this question of like authorial voice versus AI influence.
Yeah, like how much control do you give up?
Exactly. But is that always a bad thing? I mean, could this lead to less fighting online, more constructive conversations?
It's an interesting thought.
Right. But before we get too carried away with AI utopia,
Right.
Political Ferret brings us back down to earth a bit.
How so?
He points out that this AI approach might not be unique for long.
He thinks others will catch on.
Yeah, he seems to think it could become the norm on YouTube pretty soon.
So he's ahead of the curve.
Definitely.
Hmm?
But he also seems a little apprehensive about what that means for creators.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we've got a creator who loves writing a culture that values it, and an AI bridging the gap to YouTube.
It's like a perfect storm.
It really is.
Yeah,
Now, in part 2, we're going to dig deeper into Political Ferret's motivations,
sounds good.
why he's making these choices, and what he hopes to achieve. So stay tuned.
I'm hooked.
Me too.
So we left off talking about like this perfect storm, of factors.
Starting at Political Ferret, the
Right.
writing the AI, the whole thing.
Exactly. And what's really interesting to me is how he owns his limitations.
You mean like the whole 5-year break thing?
Yeah, and even beyond that, he's pretty open about the fact that his old format just doesn't work for him anymore.
Like it's not sustainable with his life now.
Right. Kid's job, the whole 9 yards.
It's kind of refreshing to see that honesty, right?
Totally. Like even big creators are real people with real lives.
Yeah, they're not these like content machines.
Exactly. There's a human behind the videos, the writing,
Persistent.
all of it.
For sure. And you know what really strikes me, though, is his persistence.
What do you mean?
He could have easily just said, okay, I'm a writer. Now I'm done with YouTube.
Yeah, he wrote thousands of pages. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment.
Exactly. But he didn't stop there. He went out and found this AI tool to bridge the gap.
To make his writing work on YouTube.
Exactly. That takes effort, you know?
Definitely, it shows a real commitment to connecting with his audience.
And he's not even pretending that these AI videos are, like, perfect.
Yeah, he kind of frames it as a work in progress, right?
Totally. Like, this is what I can do right now. Let's see where it goes.
I like that it's very pragmatic.
And he's even asking his subscribers for feedback on the new format.
Oh, that's smart.
Right. It's like a collaborative experiment.
Totally involving the audience in the evolution of his content.
So to sum it up, we have this creator who loves to write a culture that values writing and an AI making it all work on YouTube.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It really is.
Yeah.
And at its core, it's all about sharing knowledge, you know?
Right, engaging in these important discussions, finding new ways to connect.
And Political Ferret's story shows just how adaptable creators have to be these days.
Yeah, with the internet always changing, you got to be willing to experiment.
Exactly. To embrace new tools, new approaches.
So what does this mean for like the average person, the average viewer?
That's a great question, and one we're going to tackle in part 3.
Okay, looking forward to it.
Me too, because now we're getting into the really big questions about the future of content creation.
Right, like is this just a one-off or is this the start of something much bigger?
Exactly, stay tuned. So
Yeah.
we've talked about like Political Ferret's journey, all that, but where does this leave us? Like, what does this all mean for the future of content?
Well, he seems to think this AI thing could become huge.
Like everybody on YouTube using it.
He says it could become the norm, and he's both excited and a little worried about it.
I get it. It's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
On one hand, it could make content way more accessible.
Right, like break down language barriers, maybe even help people with disabilities create content.
Exactly. But then on the other hand,
It could also lead to like a ton of generic content.
yeah, it's just like an avalanche of AI-generated stuff.
But then how do you stand out?
Right. It all comes back to that human element.
Totally, like the creativity, the thought behind it.
It's like having a fancy camera.
Yeah,
Doesn't automatically make you a great photographer.
you still need that eye, that vision.
I think that's even more important as AI gets better.
Absolutely, like the human element becomes the differentiator.
So what's the takeaway here for our listeners?
Well, if you're a creator, think about how you can use AI to enhance what you're already doing.
Right. Don't just rely on it completely.
And if you're watching content online, be picky.
Don't settle for the generic stuff,
Seek out the voices, the perspectives that you connect with.
whether they're human or AI assisted.
Exactly, because the future of content creation, it's still being written.
And we all have a role to play in shaping it.
I like that.
Political Ferret's story is a great example of that.
Yeah.
You know, like adapting, finding new ways to do things.
Totally. And it makes you think about like our relationship with technology.
It really does. How
Yeah.
it's changing how we create, how we consume content.
He's given us a lot to ponder.
Definitely. So go check out his channel, see what he's doing with this AI.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it evolves.
Me too.
Yeah.
And let us know what you think about all this AI stuff.
Is this the future? Is it a fad?
We want to hear your thoughts.
Ugh.
But for now, we're signing off. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been fun.
Always. And until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep those minds curious